A child vanished inside royal walls. Power closed ranks, and silence tried to win. Then one guard spoke, exposed the truth, and forced a decision that shattered titles and saved a future. This story reveals how courage beats authority and why listening changes everything. Watch till the final second. Like the video and subscribe to the channel now. Renfrew Palace had survived wars, scandals, and centuries of rumor. It had thick walls built to protect the crown from the world. Yet in the early hours of the third morning, those same walls felt like a trap. Princess Lottie had been missing for 48 hours, not late, not misplaced. Missing, no scheduled lesson. No private playroom. No trusted aide with an explanation. Her bedroom stayed untouched. Her favorite ribbon lay on the floor where it had fallen, as if time stopped the moment she disappeared. Sergeant Alaric Thorne stood in the inner security corridor. Eyes sharp, jaw set, uniform perfect. The palace preferred calm faces. It preferred polished statements and controlled movement. Alaric gave them neither comfort nor chaos. He gave them focus. He had not slept. He had not needed permission. He had needed truth. The official search began politely, like the palace feared alarming itself. But polite searches did not find missing children. Alaric forced the search to become real. He pushed patrol routes into restricted wings. He demanded camera logs. He asked staff questions twice. He requested keys that never left certain pockets. The first day brought nothing but silence. The second day brought something worse. Contradictions a maid claimed she saw. Lottie near the East greenhouse after dusk. A footman insisted the princess never left the family wing. An aide swore Lottie was with her mother in private. That last statement fell apart when the Princess of Renfrew nearly collapsed in the chapel, whispering her daughter's name into shaking hands. The king summoned everyone by dawn of day 3. Not a public court, not a ceremony. A locked council room with stone walls and only the people who mattered. Alaric stood at the edge of the gathering, still as a pillar, listening. The king's voice did not rise, but it carried steel. 48 hours, the king said. Explain to me how a child disappears inside my home. No one answered quickly. Advisors looked down. Staff avoided each other's eyes. The queen consort, Marin, sat composed, hands folded. Expression controlled. Alaric watched. Her power often hid behind calm. The king's gaze turned to the head of household staff. Who last signed the princess into a private location? A trembling voice answered. A special escort note, Your Majesty. Approved by the queen consort's office. The room tightened. The Princess of Renfrew stood abruptly. I never approved any removal, she said. Her voice cracked, then steadied. I requested extra security. I asked for eyes on every corridor. I begged for checks every hour. Marin's expression did not change. Everyone is emotional, she said smoothly. We must not accuse without proof. Alaric took a slow breath. Proof did not always arrive as paperwork. Sometimes proof arrived as pattern. He had noticed a pattern 2 months earlier. Small, easy to dismiss. Certain staff members redirected Lottie away from her mother under the excuse of royal training. A private tutor who appeared without being scheduled. A family advisor who insisted on alone time with the child to prepare her for duties. That advisor was Marin's son, Lord Corvin Hale. He carried a title, a smile, an access. And Alaric had logged every unusual encounter. He stepped forward. Your Majesty, Alaric said. The room turned toward him. The king's eyes narrowed. Sergeant Thorne. I request permission to present findings, Alaric said. Granted. The king replied. Alaric placed a small folder on the table. Not dramatic. Not thrown. Set down like something heavy and final. Over the past 8 weeks, I recorded repeated unscheduled movements involving Lord Corvin Hale near the child's wing, Alaric said. I reported the pattern twice through internal channels. The reports were redirected. Marin's fingers tightened slightly, then relaxed. The king looked at the head of security. Redirected by whom? A long pause. Then the answer came, barely above a whisper. By an office order attached to the Queen Consort's seal. The Princess of Renford pressed a hand to her mouth. Marin's voice stayed calm. This is improper. My seal protects the family, does not protect secrecy, Alaric said. The room froze at the directness. The king's voice dropped lower. Where is my granddaughter? Alaric did not hesitate. I believe she is inside the old conservatory annex. The area has restricted keys. The cameras there have been offline for maintenance for 6 weeks, which is unusual. The head of security shifted. That annex is rarely used. That is why it is chosen, Alaric replied. The king stood. Go. Alaric moved first. 2 guards followed. The head of security tried to keep pace. The corridor leading to the annex smelled faintly of dust and old plants. The palace felt colder here, like it did not expect people to enter. They reached a locked door. Alaric did not knock. He did not waste time. He used the master security key override that only existed for emergencies. The door opened inside. The annex lights were dim. Curtains blocked the morning sun. A small sitting room held a low couch, a tray with untouched food, and a child's cardigan folded neatly as if someone wanted the scene to look gentle. Princess Lottie sat in a chair by the window, knees pulled close, hugging a book to her chest. Her face lifted quickly, eyes wide. She did not cry. She looked relieved. Alaric lowered himself slightly, voice calm. Princess Lottie. She stood and rushed forward, stopping just short of him, as if unsure she was allowed to run. You came? She whispered. Alaric kept his tone steady. You are safe now. A door behind them creaked. Footsteps, a man's voice, sharp with irritation. What is this? Who authorized? Alaric turned. Lord Corvin Hale stood in the doorway, expression hardening when he saw the guards. Alaric stepped between Corvin and the child. One gloved hand rose, palm outward, a barrier that needed no violence to be absolute. This ends now, Alaric said. Corvin's smile tried to return. She is under family instruction. Lottie's voice came small but clear from behind Alaric. I asked to leave. Alaric did not look back. He heard everything he needed. He stared at Corvin. You will step away from this door. Corvin's eyes flicked toward the child, then to the guards. Calculation replaced confidence. Alaric's voice remained controlled. Now, Corvin stepped back. The guards moved in and escorted him away without spectacle. Alaric turned to Lottie. Can you walk? He asked. She nodded. He offered his hand, slow and respectful. She took it as they left the annex. The palace no longer felt like a fortress. It felt like a place that finally remembered who it existed to protect. The council chamber doors closed with a sound that carried finality. Not a slam. Not a warning. Just the heavy certainty of stone meeting stone. Guards took position along the walls. No aides entered. No advisors spoke, unless invited. This room existed for decisions that could not be undone. Princess Lottie sat beside her mother, wrapped in a light shawl, hands folded together. She looked tired, but steady. Her eyes followed Sergeant Alaric Thorne as he took his place a few steps behind the royal chairs. She felt safer knowing he stood there. The king remained standing. 48 hours, he said again, slower this time. That is how long my granddaughter remained hidden inside this palace. No one interrupted. The queen consort Moraine sat straight-backed, expression composed. Her son, Lord Corvin Hale, stood at the far end of the chamber between 2 guards. His confidence had thinned. He avoided looking toward the child. The Princess of Renford rose first. I asked for protection, she said. I asked for oversight. I trusted this house with my child. Her voice did not shake now. Anger had replaced fear. She trusted us, the king said. His gaze fixed on Corvin. Explain. Corvin lifted his chin. The princess required discipline, preparation, guidance. She needed separation from emotional influence. Lottie flinched. Alaric moved without sound, stepping slightly closer to the child's chair. He did not touch her. His presence alone steadied her breathing. The king's eyes hardened. "You can find a child without consent." "I acted under authority," Corvin replied. With approval, all eyes turned toward Marin. She met their gaze calmly. "My son acted with the intention of strengthening the royal line." The Princess of Renford stepped forward. "You isolated my daughter. You denied her contact. You ignored her fear." Marin's tone remained measured. "Fear passes. Strength remains." "That was enough," Sergeant Thorne, the king said. "Tell us what the child told you." Alaric stepped forward into the center of the chamber. He did not embellish. He did not dramatize. He spoke as he always did. Clear, precise, exact. "Princess Lottie reported that she was taken to the annex under instruction," Alaric said. "She was told the separation served duty. She requested to return to her mother. The request was denied. Repeatedly." He paused. "She reported that Lord Corvin Hale told her that refusal would disappoint the family. That fear would fade. That silence would help her learn." The Princess of Renford covered her mouth. Lottie spoke then, softly but firmly. "I said no," she said. "I said it many times." The room felt smaller. The king turned to Marin. "Did you authorize this?" Marin hesitated for the first time. "I believed it necessary." "You believed," the king replied, "that you could decide for a child without her parents." Silence followed. The king did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "Lord Corvin Hale," he said, "step forward." Corvin obeyed. "You held a title granted by this crown," the king continued. "That title demanded responsibility. You abused access. You ignored refusal. You hid behind authority." Corvin opened his mouth. The king raised a hand. "You will not speak further." He turned to the chamber. "Effective immediately," the king said, "Lord Corvin Hale is stripped of all titles, privileges, and access to royal property. He will be removed from this household and placed under formal investigation." Moran stood abruptly. "You cannot." "I can," the king said. "And I have." The guard stepped forward and escorted Corvin out. He did not resist. He did not look back. Marin remained standing, shock finally breaking her composure. "This is humiliation," she said. "This is accountability," the Princess of Renford replied. The king turned to Alaric. "Sergeant Thorne?" "Yes, Your Majesty?" "You reported concerns. You persisted. You acted when others hesitated." "I acted to protect a child." Alaric said, "That is the highest duty of this house," the king replied. He looked at Lottie. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "I was scared." The king nodded. "You were brave." Lottie looked toward Alaric. "He listened," as the king said. "And because he listened, we all must." The council dissolved soon after. Orders issued quietly. Access revoked. Protocol rewritten. Safeguarding authority expanded. Outside the chamber, the palace moved differently. Lottie walked beside her mother through the corridor. Her steps felt lighter. She did not rush. She did not hesitate. She stopped once and turned back toward Alaric. "Thank you," she said. "You did the hardest part," Alaric replied. "You spoke." She smiled. Behind them, the palace adjusted itself around a truth it could no longer ignore. And the guard who stood firm did not seek praise. He sought safety. Renford. Palace woke to a different morning. No bells rang louder. No flags changed position. Yet the air felt altered, as if the walls themselves had shifted their weight. Decisions made behind closed doors had consequences that moved quietly but firmly through every corridor. Princess Lottie woke early, sunlight brushing the edge of her curtains. For the first time in 2 days, she felt certain of where she was. Her room felt familiar again. Her door stood unlocked. A soft knock came, respectful and patient. "Good morning," her mother said as she entered. "I am here." Lottie nodded and sat up. "I know." That certainty mattered. Outside the room, Sergeant Alaric Thorne stood watch. His posture remained exact, but his focus widened now. Protection did not end with recovery. It continued through reaction. The palace reacted in waves. First came confusion. Staff whispered, unsure which rules still applied. Access lists changed. Certain corridors closed, others reopened. Guards received updated briefings emphasizing consent, supervision, and verification. Second came resistance. A senior advisor requested a meeting with Alaric. Mid-morning, "You have placed the household under strain," the advisor said carefully. "I revealed it." Alaric replied, "There are reputational risks," the advisor continued. "There are greater risks in silence," Alaric said. The advisor studied him. "You are direct." "Children require directness," Alaric replied. The meeting ended without agreement. Inside the private wing, Lottie noticed new behaviors immediately. Aides asked before entering. Tutors checked her comfort. Schedules shifted around her pace, not the other way around. During breakfast, she pushed her plate away. "I am full," she said. An aide nodded. Of course, no persuasion followed. That change stayed with her. Later, the king requested Alaric's presence in a smaller study. No counsel. No advisors. "Just the two of them, you understand," the king said, "that this decision will echo." "Your Majesty," Alaric replied, "you understand that some will say you overstepped." "Yes, and you understand that others will thank you quietly," the king added. Alaric remained still. "I did not act for thanks." The king nodded. "You acted for protection." "That is correct." The king turned toward the window. "The palace failed a child. It will not do so again." Alaric did not respond. The statement required no reply. By midday, formal notices circulated. Lord Corvinhale's title removal became official. His access revoked. His offices sealed. His name removed from active rosters. No public announcement followed, but the message traveled fast inside the palace. Maren did not appear publicly that day. Her presence withdrew from scheduled engagements. Advisors took her place. Her influence narrowed. Pressure followed. Some senior figures questioned the speed of the decision. Others questioned the guard's authority. Meetings formed. Debates rose and fell. Every debate returned to the same point. The child had refused. The refusal had been ignored. The intervention had been necessary. Truth remained unchanged. Lottie walked through the gardens that afternoon, holding her mother's hand. She paused near the rose arch and looked back toward the palace. "It looks different," she said. "Does it?" her mother asked. "Yes," Lottie replied. "It feels quieter." They sat on a stone bench. Birds moved through the hedges. The palace felt distant for the first time in days. "I thought I did something wrong," Lottie said quietly. Her mother turned fully toward her. "You did something right," said no, Lottie said. "Yes," her mother replied. And no must always be heard. Nearby, Alaric observed discreetly. He did not intrude. He ensured space. As afternoon turned to evening, training notices reached the guard teams. New protocols emphasized safeguarding authority. Clear escalation paths replaced ambiguity. Guard discretion strengthened were children involved. Several younger guards approached Alaric afterward. "Sir," one said, "they used your report as reference." "That means they read it," Alaric replied. "It changed things," another added. "That is the goal," Alaric said. That night, Lottie slept without waking. Her breathing stayed even. Her door remained unlocked. A soft light glowed in the hall. Alaric stood watch outside the private wing. He thought of earlier reports dismissed, of warnings softened, of patterns ignored. He understood now why persistence mattered. Protection did not require noise. It required presence. Beyond the palace walls, rumors stirred. Questions formed. Curiosity grew. Official silence held. Inside, the palace learned. The aftermath did not explode. It settled, slowly, permanently, in Sergeant Alaric. Thorn remained where he belonged. Between power and the child, it once failed. Pressure arrived. Quietly at first, Renford Palace did not shout when challenged. It redirected. It delayed. It invited discussion instead of action. By the fourth day after Princess Lottie returned, the palace tested whether the truth would hold once comfort asked for silence. Sergeant. Alaric Thorne noticed the shift immediately. His patrol routes changed again, placing him near administrative corridors rather than ceremonial spaces. Meetings happened behind doors he did not enter. Names moved across schedules without explanation. The palace adjusted its weight, seeing if the line drawn would bend. Alaric did not comment. He watched inside the private wing. Princess Lottie felt the change in subtler ways. Adults spoke carefully now, choosing words that avoided commands. Hands paused before reaching. Decisions waited for her response. During a lesson, her tutor asked, "Would you like to continue? Or would you prefer to stop for today?" Lottie considered and chose to stop. The lesson stopped. That choice stayed with her longer than the lesson ever could. Later that morning, the Queen Consort requested a private audience with the king. The request did not come with urgency. It came with expectation. The king agreed. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. No raised voices carried through the corridor. No doors slammed. When it ended, the Queen Consort exited with a controlled expression and eyes that avoided the inner wing. Within the hour, formal notices circulated. The Queen Consort's advisory authority over minor scheduling and private instruction was suspended. Oversight transferred to an independent safeguarding office. Access lists revised again. Titles remained. But influence narrowed. Correction did not need spectacle. It needed limits. Lottie learned of the changes, and her mother explained them gently over lunch. "Does this mean it will not happen again?" Lottie asked. "It means many people are making sure it does not," her mother replied. Lottie nodded. Satisfied, that afternoon, an external delegation arrived. Not media. Not officials. Specialists in child welfare and safeguarding. Invited quietly to review palace practices, they asked careful questions. They listened. They took notes. Alaric accompanied them through corridors where authority once flowed without challenge. He answered directly. He pointed to gaps. He named risks. He suggested solutions. He did not soften anything. One specialist paused near the annex corridor. "This space invites isolation." She said it did. Alaric replied, "It no longer will." They marked it for redesign. Pressure intensified as word spread inside the palace. Some senior figures expressed concern about precedent. Others worried about reputation. A few suggested that too much change might invite scrutiny. Alaric heard none of it directly. He felt it in the way conversations paused when he approached, in the way invitations arrived without follow-through, in the way silence tried to replace clarity. A protocol advisor stopped him near the grand staircase. "You understand?" the advisor said. "That not everyone agrees with your methods." "I understand," Alaric replied. "Some believe this should have stayed internal." "Children do not disappear internally," Alaric said. "They disappear when systems fail." The advisor said nothing more. That evening, Lottie joined her brother in the music room. She hesitated at the doorway. "May I come in?" she asked. Her brother looked up and smiled. "Yes." She entered and sat beside him at the piano. Music filled the room softly. No one interrupted. No one redirected. Choice continued to reshape the palace. Later that night, Alaric received a summons. Not command. Not counsel. The king requested him privately. The study felt smaller than before. The king stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back. "You have caused discomfort," the king said. "Yes, Your Majesty," Alaric replied. "You have also caused correction." "Yes." The king turned. "Some will remember this as disruption. Others will remember safety," Alaric said. The king nodded. "I accept the second." He handed Alaric a single page. "Permanent safeguarding authority for internal security when minors involved." Alaric read it once. "Thank you," he said. The king studied him. "Why did you persist when others would have stepped back?" Alaric answered without pause. Because hesitation belongs to power. Protection belongs to duty. The king nodded slowly. The palace needed to hear that. Outside the study, the palace moved into evening. Lights warmed the stone. The tension eased into something steadier. Lottie prepared for bed with a calmer routine. She placed her favorite book on the nightstand. She paused and looked down the corridor. "The guard is there," she said softly. "Yes." Her mother replied. "That helps," Lottie said. Alaric stood at his post, posture unchanged. Awareness sharpened. The walls of Renford Palace had answered back. They no longer echoed authority. Alone, they echoed accountability. And the line that protected a child remained where it belonged, unmoved. By the 5th day, the palace stopped pretending the matter would fade. Renford Palace had always understood how to wait. It knew how to let time smooth sharp edges and turn urgency into memory. Yet this time refused to cooperate. The truth stayed present, firm, and uncomfortable. Sergeant Alaric Thorne felt the cost of that truth more clearly now. It arrived as distance. Colleagues, who once shared easy words, now offered brief nods. Invitations to informal briefings disappeared. Conversations ended when he approached. No one accused him. No one confronted him. Silence carried the message. Alaric accepted it. Isolation often followed responsibility inside the private wing. Princess Lottie noticed the change too, though she named it differently. "People walk softer," she said to her mother during breakfast. "They are being careful," her mother replied. "Because of me," Lottie said. "Because of truth," her mother corrected. That distinction mattered. Later that morning, a formal review session convened. Security leadership, safeguarding officers, and external advisors filled the long conference room. Files rested open on the table. The mood stayed professional but tense. Alaric presented his report again, this time with added detail. He spoke about access patterns, about how authority masked intention, about how silence protected misuse. He spoke without anger. He spoke without judgment. Facts carried enough weight. One senior officer leaned back in his chair. "Your persistence created disruption." "It prevented disappearance," Alaric replied. Another officer frowned. "Some believe you exceeded your remit." "My remit ends where safety ends," Alaric said. The safeguarding lead nodded. "The report supports Sergeant Thorne's actions fully." That ended debate. By midday, new directives issued across the palace. No child could be relocated without dual parental confirmation. No private instruction occurred without oversight. All annex spaces required active monitoring. The system changed not because it wished to, but because it had to. Pressure then arrived from outside. Questions reached the palace from allied institutions, not accusations. Requests for clarification. Requests for assurance. Quiet reminders that reputation relied on credibility. The king authorized limited transparency. Protect the child. He instructed. Protect the truth. Lottie spent the afternoon in the library, reading quietly. She stopped once and looked up. "Will they be angry forever?" she asked. "No," her mother said. "Some will be uncomfortable for a while." "Is uncomfortable bad?" Lottie asked. Her mother smiled gently. "It is how change begins," Lottie considered that and returned to her book. Alaric received another offer that afternoon. A senior administrator approached him near the guard corridor. "You could take a temporary reassignment," the administrator said kindly. "Less visible, less pressure." Alaric met his gaze. Pressure belongs where mistakes occurred. The administrator nodded slowly. "That answer costs you." "I am aware," Alaric replied. The administrator left without argument. Briefly in a side hall, her movements stayed measured. Her presence felt contained now. Boundaries surrounded her that had not existed before. She noticed Alaric and stopped. "You think you won?" she said quietly. "I think a child is safe," Alaric replied. Her expression tightened. "This palace survives on discretion. This palace survives on protection," Alaric said. She turned away without another word. Night settled over Renford with a softer weight. The palace breathed differently now, less guarded by silence. More guarded by intention, Lottie prepared for bed with steady movements. She placed her shoes neatly by the door. She turned off her light herself. Before sleeping, she paused. "Will you still be there?" She asked her mother. "Yes," her mother said. "And so will the guard." That knowledge calmed her. Outside her room, Alaric stood watch. He felt the fatigue then, deep and honest. He felt the cost of being the one who refused to step back. He also felt something else, certainty, because safety did not come free. It came from people willing to carry discomfort, so children did not have to carry fear. The palace learned that lesson slowly, but it learned, and Sergeant Alaric Thorne remained where he belonged, standing between power and the child it once failed. Renford Palace did not announce its transformation, it lived it. Morning arrived with ordinary light, filtering through tall windows and warming stone that had witnessed centuries of command. Yet the rhythm felt different now. The palace moved with intention rather than habit. Decisions paused where they once rushed. Questions replaced assumptions. Princess Lottie noticed first. She woke without fear pressing against her chest. Her door stood open. The hallway felt familiar, not guarded by tension. She dressed at her own pace and walked toward breakfast without an escort hovering close behind. An aide greeted her softly. "Good morning. Would you like to eat here or in the garden room?" "The garden room," Lottie said. Of course, choice had become normal. Outside the private wing, Sergeant Alaric Thorne stood watch. His posture stayed exact, uniform immaculate, presence steady. He had not asked for recognition. He had not requested reward. Still, the palace had adjusted around him. The king convened one final council that afternoon, not to debate. To conclude, safeguarding officers presented their findings. External reviewers confirmed gaps that had allowed authority to overreach. New structures replaced old shortcuts. Oversight became layered. No single office controlled access to a child again. The king listened in silence. When the reports ended, stood. "This house exists to protect the future," he said, "not to control it." He signed the final directive in front of them all. Permanent safeguarding authority. Independent oversight. Immediate intervention rights when refusal spoken by a minor. The ink dried. The decision stood. Queen Consort Marin did not attend the council. Her role narrowed to ceremonial distance. Influence replaced by boundaries. Power corrected without spectacle. Correction did not require shouting. It required meetings. Lottie spent the afternoon drawing in the conservatory, the same annex once sealed and silent. Sunlight filled the space now. Glass cleaned. Curtains removed. The room redesigned for openness. She drew a wide path with flowers on both sides. "What is that?" her brother asked. "A way out," Lottie replied. "So no one gets lost again." He nodded, satisfied. Later, Lottie approached Alaric as he stood near the archway. "I want to say something," said Alaric, lowered himself slightly, meeting her eye level without diminishing his authority. "Yes, Princess." "I thought being brave meant being loud," Lottie said, "but I was quiet." "Bravery listens to itself," Alaric replied. "You did that." She smiled and handed him a folded paper. Inside, a child's careful drawing showed a guard standing still while a storm passed around him. "You stayed?" she said. Alaric closed the paper gently. "That is my job." "That is more than a job," she said, thoughtful, then ran back toward her mother. As evening approached, the palace prepared for a small gathering. No cameras, no speeches, just family and trusted staff. Music played softly. Laughter returned in cautious waves. The king approached Alaric near the terrace. "You understand," the king said, "that your actions will be studied." "Yes, Your Majesty. You understand that some will call it disruption." "Yes. And you understand that others will call it protection." Yes, the king nodded. The palace chooses the second. Alaric bowed his head slightly. Night fell with calm certainty. Lanterns lit the path. Windows glowed warm against stone. The palace breathed in a steadier rhythm. Lottie prepared for bed with confidence. She placed her book on the table and turned off the light herself. Before sleeping, she asked one last question. "The guard will still be there," she said. "Yes," her mother replied. "And so will the rules that protect you." Lottie smiled and slept easily. Outside, Alaric stood watch, the folded drawing tucked safely inside his jacket. He did not feel victorious. He felt complete. A child had gone missing. A system had been tested. Alice had chosen. And because one guard listened when silence expected obedience. The future stood safer than before. The watch continued, not louder, not soft or clear,